Hey guys, it's Brian from PhoneArena here, and this is our quick look at the Sprint Force. Now the Force is a Sprint branded but ZTE manufactured entry-level LTE handset. As you can see, it is running Android 4.0. It is not a Jelly Bean device, but it is pretty much a stock Android device. You see the little ID icon here, meaning that this is a Sprint ID device, and you can download more icon packs if you want to. But out of the box, it is pretty much vanilla Android, which is something we like to see. In terms of the design, you can definitely tell this is an entry-level device just by picking it up. It doesn't feel cheap per se, but they didn't spend a lot of money on materials here. Definitely feels plasticky. As you can see, the back here does have some texture to it, but it really doesn't add any grip. What we're seeing here is a 5-megapixel camera with an LED flash. You just have a couple volume rockers and your micro USB port on one side, and a physical camera shutter on the other. And up top you're going to find your power button and headphone jack. Now we do like these buttons. They are nice and big. They're well separated on the side here. They have plenty of travel. So in terms of the little things like that, ZTE did get it right. Down at the bottom you can see capacitive Android keys. We do have a menu key as opposed to a task switcher key. But other than that, it is pretty much a stock Android build. It is powered by a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core S4 processor with a gig of RAM, so it actually runs quite snappy. We don't have any problems with the performance. It did well in all of our benchmark tests, so even though this is an entry-level device, it has the hardware of last year's high-end smartphones, but definitely doesn't have the design characteristics of it. One of the major drawbacks we found on the Force is the 4-inch display. It's IPS, so in normal light it has very good viewing angles, but as you can see, when there is direct sunlight, it is very hard to see, even just at a little bit off kilter. So we're not sure if there's some type of coating on the display or what that is, but you very, very quickly lose all readability with this display under strong lighting conditions. Other than that, it is a VGA resolution. About 220 or so pixels per inch, so not the highest resolution out there, but at the same time things do look crisp. We didn't really have any issues with it. The colors are good, so for an entry-level device we really can't complain about the quality of the display, but like we said, it's the viewing angle, and we have a feeling there's some type of coating on there because IPS displays normally are really good at this, and if you don't have this direct light on it, then you can see it pretty much until you get to about there. So just something to keep in mind. This is just another area where the Force does definitely show its entry-level characteristics. Now, like we mentioned, this does run a Qualcomm S4 processor. It is a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz, and it has a gig of RAM, so it moves around pretty quickly. As you can see, we're using Chrome to browse the web here. Everything's moving just as we would expect it. We have the pinch to zoom. We've got the double tap. We can flip it around. So in terms of the overall performance of the phone, everything was pretty good. We've got the swipe keyboard here, so there's some nice little built-in things like that. On the camera side, it was a little bit, it was actually pretty much what we would expect. It's a 5-megapixel shooter. It is an entry-level device, so there's really not a whole lot to be expected out of it. Sharing things on Facebook and whatnot, you're going to be just fine, but if you actually look at images as a higher resolution, then you're going to see a lot of grain and a lot of other issues. One of the nice things is with the video camera here, you can take a picture by just tapping the screen while you're recording. So given that it's an entry-level device, something like that is a lot more useful than 1080p recording, which it does lack, unfortunately. But like we said, again, this is an entry-level device, $50 on contract. Wouldn't be surprised to see it free from many retailers, and it does what you expect it to do. Overall, there's really no surprises with the Force. It's pretty much exactly what you think it is out of the box. It is an entry-level Android 4.0 device with some decent internals for a good overall user experience. Caller said we sounded pretty good on this device. It wasn't the best thing we've ever tested, but they definitely could hear us clearly. The camera, like we mentioned, is one of the weak points, as well as the glare on the display. But other than that, the operating system is nice and snappy. Battery life is pretty good, rated at 9 hours, should get you through a whole day with no problem. And given that you have access to the Play Store, you can pretty much download whatever you want on here. There is plenty of memory available. You do have a memory card as well, so you can expand on that. So if you're in the market for an entry-level device, the Force is definitely something to look at. The 4G connectivity is one of the added bonuses of it. It's definitely not going to run with the likes of HTC or Samsung on the higher ends, but that's really not what this device is for.